I never remember to record at the very beginning. Maybe next time, next time. So how is everybody? Any check-in? Anything you want to share from this last week? The full moon? The no moon? Anne?
The full moon was absolutely fabulous, and I felt very expansive to know that I'm a part of this universe. Very grateful.
Oh, thank you.
And I used the image of that to go to a little card that had the moon on it and use that as a conditioning image for me to bring peace to me in moments.
Good.
Thank
Good.
you.
So you're using the cosmos as well as your inner cosmos for peace. Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have something you would want to share or tell us from this last week? Anya,
Good morning, everyone.
morning. Lower your screen so we can see your whole face.
Oh, boy. How's
There
that?
you go. Yeah.
So when I remembered to look out at the moon, and my home here in Mendocino has a lot of glass. So virtually every room, and especially the bedroom, I have a great vantage of seeing the moon cross over the sky, the horizon. And I've had so much trouble sleeping because I was so excited. And that's all I can say. My mind, I couldn't shut off my mind. And it was about brain health. The focus was on brain health and being able to understand, to my way of thinking, what's going on and offered through your class. And I kept seeing these images of what I call sacred dust, the molecules going around inside of me, outside of me. And it was just a very different experience. And the challenge for me, Sondra, was to wake up, and my body was tired because I didn't get the magical rejuvenation of sleep. However, my spirit was animated, vital, and my body was kind of lagging when I stayed in this reality. So that was it for me.
Well, thank you. I mean, sometimes we have that difference of part of ourselves, our experience of who we are is very much alive, and another part is sluggish.
Yes.
And it's accepting it, isn't it? It's accepting, well, I've got both these things going on.
Well, the first thing in me is that acknowledging it exists and then accepting it. It's like both and.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. And wow. That's it.
Great. Thank you so much. It is all about awareness.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I understand the full moon energy. Where I used to live in Petaluma, I had a skylight that the moon would come over the skylight, and I would see the moon through my windows. But here, I have to walk to see the moon. So it's not in my house. And I know how, when it was getting close to full moon, more and more light, I just couldn't sleep.
Yes.
Couldn't sleep. Yeah.
Uh,
Thanks. Anybody else have an insight from this past week or this past year or sometime? No. Judith.
Well, I was thinking of Jackie's question about what comes first, the cell or the thought or the energy. And I don't just kind of lingering in my consciousness. And I saw a little interview with Yo-Yo Ma, who had his 70th birthday this week.
Mm.
And he was interviewed by a conductor who said, you play so beautifully, but then when you're finished playing, you're so awake and you're so intelligent. How do you do that? Like how do you do both? And Yo-Yo Ma's answer really touched my heart. He said, I really care. It's like you could feel that he poured his heart into his playing such that it made him lucid. And I thought about the cell responding to your caring, to your energy, really caring, like wanting to heal or wanting to understand. And it's a little bit of both and. It's hard to say what comes first, but I don't know why that touched me in resonance with Jackie's question, but it did. So thought I'd share it.
Thank you for sharing that. It's like what what makes us alive? What makes us alive? And do we take that for granted? Or do we feel really blessed with being alive? I mean, it's always a choice, whether it adds to our healing, our age, whatever. I mean, to me, that's the big choice of life. It's like, because I've certainly lived a lot of my life in the dumps, down in the dumps. And it's a choice. How do I get out of that place? Can I truly be in gratitude? Can we truly be aware of how lucky we are? How lucky to have this choice to be here. And we are here now, in spite of what is happening outside. Um, yeah, it's a choice how we're responding. And can we have moments of feeling joyful in whatever's going on? Yeah. Not always easy. Not always easy. I think my own thinking about it is if I had a gift like Yo-Yo Ma, um, I think it would be easier to have moments of joy. If I didn't feel I had any gifts, then the gifts could be as simply as loving my pet dog or loving nature outside. I mean, it doesn't have to be a creative skill, but I think we all have a choice of how are we using our energy? Um, how am I using my mind? Do I have to go into down in the dumps because I don't have the money to get my teeth fixed? Or I'm lucky I've got teeth. So, the choice isn't always easy to make. I know that, especially if we're in a lot of pain, physical or emotional pain. It's not necessarily an easy choice, but it is our choice. It is our choice. I mean, it's which came first, the thought or the cells? Well, the cells were given, the cells were here. So we feed them with our thoughts. However we want to look at that. Yeah. Like, well, what do I choose? Yeah. Can I make those choices? Thanks, Judith. Anybody else? Okay. Well, I pulled a card from the microcosmic wisdom cards. And it feels really appropriate. The card is expansion. And the guidance for this card is expand your horizons. Bring your sorrows, sense of humor, and blessings into the light. Then your true self emerges and expands. Be ready for new spiritual energy. Let life be an adventure. See it as a miracle that it is. Face the future renewed. Willingness and vulnerability to take risks expands the expression of who you are. So now is a time to let yourself expand who you are. Expand. Let go of anything that's keeping you back. And with that, I'm going to do a slideshow. Now, I know the slideshow is way longer than it should be, but because this, and I will whip through some of it. Oh, and I also want to say that next week, if people want to meet at 11, I'm open to do that for really an informal gathering, questions, connecting, no planned class. So if you want to do that, let me know. Yeah. That'll be my birthday gift to you. It's my birthday next week. Yeah. So what? Okay. So slideshow. So why I know this is long, because I wanted to, since it's I wanted to continue with the biology, but also my own experience of myself is I am more than my biology. I am more than my psychology. It's not going to work. There's a mythic self that I have that belief. You may not. And the mythic self is your symbolic self. And so I've got little bits at the end of the slideshow on your symbolic self. And in the handout, I had links to places where you can look up how to find out your symbolic self. So feel free if you have questions on that also later. And I was just thinking, when I always meditate before I teach, when did the symbolic self start coming to me? I wasn't born with those ideas. It wasn't until I was in my 30s did I even start thinking about something that was beyond the physical. So at any age, for me, it gave me some guidance on what am I supposed to be doing? What are my lessons for this life? That's why I do the cards also. What's the lesson for today? What am I here to learn today? So now I will get to the slideshow. So we started the first session with the whole concept that life needs a place, and that to recognize that we are the place for life. We were each given a packet of divine energy, as well as molecular energy that you learned about last week. So how do we want to use that life? And what I put this in at the last moment that came to me today. Life needs a place, and you are home. You're always home. You don't have to be looking for anything else. So a reminder, the image of our cellular self, and this comes from an article on psychoneuroimmunology, our physical self, our nervous system, our immune system. So what is identity? At the physical level, identity is told by our cells, which I guess is the next slide, as our fingerprints, our genes, our smell, our voice are all signatures of who we are. And so today is I am, forever as I am. And what was interesting is I have all these quotes from Rumi. When was Rumi? hundreds of years ago? How did Rumi know all of this? Where did that wisdom come to him? So you have no need to travel anywhere. And I will have other quotes throughout the show. Journey within yourself. Enter a mine of rubies, of stardust, and bathe in the splendor of your own light. We each have our light. By the way, if we want to measure ATP activity in our cells, we measure light, or at least that's the way it was done in the old days when I was a practicing scientist. So here are our markers of ourself that are unique to each one of us. Our fingerprints, our DNA, our smell prints, our voice prints, and I'll talk a little bit about the cellular identification markers, all on the outside of the cell, other than the genes. And this is our DNA. And then we have what's our energy? Is the energy that we put out unique to us, our vibration? That's something we each could look at. So here, I know when I talked about receiving information and the receptors on the outside of the cell that could receive the hormones and respond to it, also on the outside of the cell, on that cell membrane, how rich it is, are these identification markers that are also proteins. So proteins of different shapes and different electrical activity. And so how cells recognize each other is through these recognizing patterns of the complementary molecules. How we recognize microbes is through the patterns on their surface. What else would I say about that? So if any of you are drawing cells or creating cells, you might want to think about, well, how are my cells saying I am? And, I feel really blessed in the research I chose as a postdoctoral fellow, because if I hadn't chosen this cell type, I would never have gotten into falling in love with the cells, because this is a white blood cell. It's part of the immune system. It's the first cellular defense against any kind of microbe, and it's able to recognize, in this case, this was a red blood cell from a sheep. So it's able to recognize by virtue of markers on the outside of the cell, it's able to recognize that there's something different, maybe dangerous, but something that's not self outside of it. And you can see, not tentacles, but you can see part of the cell going after this. And it's just phenomenal that this cell has this intelligence to be able to detect what's in its environment and say, oh, this is not me. I better take it inside. And it's like putting it in a baggie, and I can now kill it and destroy it and chop it up into little pieces and get rid of it. So just on that basis of the cell type, I got into the science that I did. So different ways we recognize ourselves. In the early days of psychoneuroimmunology, which is basically mind-body medicine, we thought this is the immune system. We believed that the immune system, whose job it is to recognize not self, and take care of that. We thought this was an independent operator that operated outside of the nervous system, that was not affected by stress, thoughts, etc. But it took, decades to really learn that if we think about the mind and who I am, the mind, the psyche, has the ability to define our psychological boundaries, our psychological definitions of self. And then the immune system protects us, our boundaries, our definition at the cellular level. And then we've got the nervous system that's talking to these systems. Everything operates together. They're not in isolation, even though I may be teaching it more in isolation. All the parts of the cell work together. One might seem more important, like for me, the cytoskeleton is. So here's again a white blood cell that can even recognize that latex beads are foreign. And this is what's called a scanning electron micrograph, which makes the cell much bigger than you would see through the light microscope. And this is probably a macrophage kind of white blood cell that is considered a phagocyte, meaning it eats other things. This is a lymphocyte, the key player in a way of the immune system. The lymphocytes recognize germs, viruses, bacteria. Here we've got, this is a lymphocyte, and on the outside, these green things are bacteria that this lymphocyte recognizes and then does its immune response to it. Again, I think it's, just knowing some of this stuff, we're pretty amazing. So I'm going to keep it short. Well, she calls it short, but to look at the immune network, again, this is something that could be taught for 8 weeks also. So the immune network, I call it a network, not a system, because it includes more than the organs, which are the bone marrow and the thymus, more than the cells, more than the molecules. It includes our psyche, it includes our emotions, it includes consciousness, and they all work together. This is, by the way, a computer graphic of an antibody molecule, IgG. So immunoglobulins are the same as antibodies. We just have a whole different family of A, G, M, E, and I think there's also D, which we don't need to know anything about. And so we talk about the cells of the immune system are the white blood cells. And yeah, I'm always having to talk more. Cytokines are molecules that the cells of the immune system and some other cells in the body will make. And cytokines are molecules that basically activate more of the immune system. So there are all these keys that will turn on different immune activity. So when there's studies that say stress lowers the immune activity, that's not always true. There are so many factors in immune activity that stress can hyperactivate it or turn it down. It's really different. So here's the thymus. It's the largest when we're babies. This is the bone marrow, just to give you a visual. And the thymus shrinks with age. The thymus shrinks with stress. And in the old days, meaning in the 40s and 50s, we didn't know what the thymus did. And medicine thought that this big organ above the heart and on the heart was responsible for a sudden crib death. And so a lot of babies who had enlarged thymuses, which is normal and natural, got irradiated. And the consequences of that were decades later, different kinds of cancer. So immune activity, it's always in balance. Well, the goal is to keep it in balance. If we have too little immune activity, sometimes caused by stress, we're more likely to have infections. If we have too much immune activity, and if we have a genetic predisposition for it, we can have more allergies, autoimmune diseases, and chronic inflammation. So the goal is to keep it in balance. And one of the ways to keep it in balance is to eliminate stress. And making a choice for me with what information do I include is not easy. The reason I include inflammation, more of our diseases have chronic inflammation, not necessarily as a causal factor, but as a factor in contributing to symptoms. Other than it may be a causal factor in heart disease. So if we know that stress contributes to inflammation being on all the time, we can be proactive and see how can I diminish the chronic inflammation. So these are foods that are considered pro-inflammatory. They contribute on their own, they contribute to inflammation. Sweets, soft drinks, alcohol, red meat, all the, bread. I love bread. I love sweets. So it's like, how much are we including in our everyday diet that contributes to inflammation? But the universe, God, whoever created all of us, always had the countermeasure, the ways to handle, say, too much inflammation in our diet, in our food, all the highly colored food, citrus, especially our anti-inflammatory foods. Red wine is anti-inflammatory. This is selenium, so a lot of what we take for vitamins, anti-inflammatory, B's, C's, help reduce inflammation. Just because they're natural, though, doesn't mean we should take lots of them, because too much throws us out of balance. So exercise is another factor. Again, what do we eat? How are we nourishing ourselves? Important. And it's important not to go into, oh my God, this is going to cause too much stress, too much inflammation. I better not have this chocolate ice cream. I need to see what's happening. I'm getting a lot of, I don't know if people are trying to come in the door. Let me see. I'm going to go back one more. So since I fell in love with everything through the microscope, this is vitamin A, a fat-soluble nutrient, and this is vitamin C through the microscope, a little different. And I am going to pause this because I don't know if someone's trying to get in the room. Let's see, stop share. I know I needed to have, is there anybody trying to get in? No, I don't see that. Okay, I'm going to go back to share. Next time I'm going to definitely have a helper. Okay. Okay, share. Yeah, I've never tried sharing it. Stop sharing it. Let's see. Okay, so there we are with our nutrients through the microscope. Aren't we beautiful? This is all inside of us. Aren't we beautiful? So getting into balance, stress, same thing I've been saying the whole time. What do we do to turn off the stress response? What kind of practices can we turn on that help us feel more in balance? And it's all, again, it's all about choice. How about spirit? How about prayer? What's the magic that we can use? Meditation, dance, music. So who are you at a mythic level? Do you have, I should have asked this, you can talk at the end with me about this. Do any of you have a symbolic identity, like use the tarot, and you know that you're the empress? So you are, and just think, take a moment for yourself. If you say to yourself, I am, What's the next word or words that pop up? I am is considered to be some of the most important, powerful, sacred words we can think about. We've got it in all the Bibles, in shamanism. How do we answer I am? How do we want to answer it? So we're sanctuaries. We started with sanctuaries, and in the Bible, one of the phrases that God says when Moses asks God, at least that's the story, "Who are you? What's your name?" "I am that I am." And in some traditions, when we say I am or I am that I am, we're including that God is part of us. So to be able to see if that fits for yourself, God or the creator, or whatever you call divine source, that divine energy, I am that I am. Oh, I forgot I included this. Let me see where we are. Okay, good. So one of the things I discovered, which was mind-blowing to me, and that's why I asked the question, that inquiry, did what the ancient people saw inside, assuming they saw inside, I'm assuming they did, or in their guidance, they saw things, did that contribute to their spiritual practices, their spiritual wisdom? And one of the things, the triangle is considered to be one of the most sacred symbols that we have. And one of the things that I learned through, I don't even know where I got into the triad or the trinity or the triplet. And this happens to be underlying the membrane of red blood cells, the simplest kind of cell we've got. And it's also triangles. And so looking at the divine, the trinities of sacred traditions, in the Christian tradition, the Trinity is very well known, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. In the Hebrew tradition, we have three different, well, we have many, many names for God. And I used to think this was the three faces of God. Yahweh, the Father, in a way, the masculine, Shekinah, the feminine, and Ruach, the breath of God. And what I've been reading this weekend, more on this, is it's the three qualities of different presences of God, because the Jewish tradition does not have a trinity. The Hindu tradition, I don't think they would call this a trinity, but if you look at the three holy people in the Hindu tradition, Brahma, the creator, forgive me because I don't really, one is Shiva, the protector, and one is the destroyer. Oh, Shiva is the destroyer, Vishnu is the protector. So there are qualities that different theological perspectives came up all in the threesomes. And this is the Trimurti, a symbol for Buddhism. And, oh, not the Trimurti, sorry, the Tiratina. This is the Trimurti, I think. I don't remember, one of the reasons I shouldn't be teaching anymore, my memory is kind of getting a little bungled up. So the Tiratana, three jewels of Buddhism, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So we've got, why do they all come up with three sacred concepts for their theology? Well, now if we look at biology, which is obviously what I did first, again, I have no idea why I got into this. So other than I always was aware of patterns. The genetic code is 3 letters. So what that means is what the genetic code gives us information for is the code for building a protein. And what builds a protein is amino acids. So the 3-letter code like AAA, the letters, the choices of the letters are A, T, G, C. So three of the letters will program building a protein, say that's glycine, say ATA is glutamic acid. I mean, you can see where, and a protein can be hundreds and hundreds of amino acids, all coded in a three-letter code. So when we start, we've got this code going on. When we're in the embryo stage, the embryo starts with three layers: the ectoplasm, the endoplasm, and the mesoplasm. And each layer contributes to a different part of the body. So the ecto is the outside, and it's the skin, the nervous system, etc. So we've got another threesome in biology. And then one of the descriptions of the brain, it's a triune brain. It has three sections: the neocortex, basically the mental part of us, the limbic system, the emotional part of us, the reptilian part of the brain, which is survival. So here we've got all these threesomes. And now if we look at our culture, so one of the homework or play work when we leave the classes, where do you see three? Where do you hear three? Look at our fairy tales: three bears, three blind mice, three musketeers. Look at our culture: stoplight, three colors. Why three? Why not four? Why not two? How about when we were learning the ABCs? It was not the ABCD, and it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, not 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So why did the threesome become so important in our culture? Three wishes, oh, three wise men, past, present, and future, beginning, middle, end, mind, body, spirit. Is it all coincidence, or did the three of our biology inform theology, inform cultural uses? And if you think about, I mean, if you go to church, you may repeat a prayer 3 times. So just begin to see, are you aware of threesomes? And in numerology, three is considered the wholeness. It's not 1, 2. We become whole and complete when we get to three places. It's like 1 is unity, 2 is duality, 3 is the synthesis of that, putting it all together. And if we're using anchoring for our senses, can we anchor 3 times? Can we hum 3 times? And what came to me many years ago, and I've got to confess, I don't do this all the time, but I have done it. And so my question to you, to see if you can use the triplet, the triad, if we do our practices, our prayers, our anchoring in threes, will that build a stronger memory for our body, mind? And what did come to me, this is the next slide. Yeah, what came to me a number of years ago was a body prayer. A lot of what I was practicing physically, I would call body prayers. And I questioned if I created a body prayer, or I don't think I created it, it came to me. So I was given it from somewhere. If we had this body prayer, would we be more likely to be able to bring in what we're calling for? And what I did was raising my hands, and this is in the handout, raising my hands up to the heavens, the sky, with my palms up open and saying, I'm open to, I bring in, and I want, the times I've used this, I've wanted love and inner peace. And then I bend down. So I'm engaging my body. I'm bending down and planting putting my hands on the earth and saying, I plant the seeds for um, opening to love, inner peace, whatever I come up with, and whatever we come up with. And then one hand on the belly, one hand on my heart. I am or I have inner peace, wisdom, whatever I'm praying for. And to repeat it at least 3 times a day. I think the most I've ever done it for is 3 days. I mean, like I confessed to early on, I don't do all the things that are good for me, even though I believe they are. And so one of the times that made me a believer that, wow, this really works is I was opening up to love and peace. And I did it for 3 days, no longer. I probably was afraid what else I would bring in. So what I brought in was a man I hadn't seen in years. He called me or emailed me. I don't even remember how he got in touch with me, but it's like, okay, I'm bringing in love. This works. So it's, again, we're the experiment to find out what works for ourselves. And so who are we at the symbolic level? I know I'm trying to include the metaphysical, the magic. To me, the numbers are the threesomes are magic in the wisdom of the world, of the cosmos. And we've got the symbols. It could be the number, your birthday. Um, your birthday will give you a tarot card. It will also give you a number, which we can talk about. Your astrology, what's your sun sign? What's your moon sign? Does any of that make a difference to you? What about your elemental signature? Are you a water person, an air person? Are you missing? It's interesting. In my astrology, I am missing the fire element. So there are 4 elements: air, water, fire, earth. I'm missing the fire element. And when I first discovered this system, the people I attracted when I lived in Bolinas were all fire people. So he's like, okay, coincidence. And what I'm seeing here, the people here I'm getting closer with are all fire people. So one of the reasons I really got into the elemental story is, does this help us understand who we're attracted to because of our elemental? We need to be in elemental balance, or we want to be in elemental balance, that the people that are attracted to us are what we're missing. I don't know if that's makes sense to you. I mean, when I first was doing this, where I didn't even believe in it, I realized my parents both had a lot of fire. My brother had a lot of fire. I had none. So we can use these symbols to get into this metaphysical, beyond the physical part of ourselves. And how does that inform us? So who am I? Am I the dancer? Am I the cell person? Um, are you a Cancer? Are you a Capricorn? Um, what's your card? So I've got the links to all this. These are different symbolic systems that have gone beyond the years, beyond 1 year. And I could talk about how do you find some of this if you have the interest. So it's looking at the symbols. So we begin to have favorite symbols that speak to us. I remember when my son was little, I didn't think about this until this weekend. He always was saying, if we went to the horse races or we raised a question about something, he was always saying things were he was going to bet on number 3. I've never even told him about the 3 concept. I didn't even have that when he was a little kid. It wasn't even in my awareness. So there may be symbols. It's like, again, for me, I'm born in the year of the dragon. So the dragon has become a potent symbol to me. So it's what talks to us. So symbols are a visible sign of some concept that really is invisible. And it's come to mean a lot. It's like in the Christian religion, the cross is a powerful symbol. For people who may not see that as a powerful symbol. The heart may be the symbol that they talk about. This is poison. Do we know that? This is radioactivity. So if we look at the symbols in our culture or what turns us on, for Judith, it could be music. So to just begin to see is like what's the artwork on your walls, or what's the design on your towels or your sheets. You begin to see you have things that call to you at a level that is beyond the cellular self. So here's that inquiry I've been asking. Did the ancients use what they saw inside to structure their spiritual practices and beliefs? Did the shaman, did the Greeks, and I think one of the reasons that idea came to me way back when. This is a computer graphic of DNA made by Bob Langridge at UCSF. And when I've seen this in more current years, I've seen this as a mandala. So did the idea for a mandala, getting into focusing on the center or the sacred, come from the inner world? And when I did a little work with a language way back when, and I wanted to use this in my cell book. So I remember contacting him and saying, "Can I use this in the cell book?" And actually, a friend of mine used it on his back of his tarot cards. So language said, when I sent him the image to remind him, he told me I had it upside down, so this was pointing upside, the other direction. I had no idea. I still don't have any idea. The only reason I know this is up is because he told me. So each one of these different colored dots represents a different atom in DNA: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus. And so that's built, this is probably more the phosphorus backbone. So where did the idea for mandala come from? So these are the Rumi quotes I had to include. It's like, how did Rumi know this? When was Rumi? How many hundreds of years ago? Rumi saying, "We came whirling out of nothingness, scattering stars like dust. The stars made a circle, and in the middle we dance. We are stars wrapped in skin. The light you are seeking has always been within. Do not feel lonely. The entire universe is inside you." How did he know this? One last one from him. "When you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you, a joy." So are we making choices from our soul? And this is from Thich Nhat Hanh, who reminds us around our choice. Every morning when we wake up, we have 24 brand new hours to live. What a precious gift. We have the capacity to live in a way that these 24 hours will bring peace, joy, and happiness in ourselves and others. So we've got these, Thich Nhat Hanh is current, well, fairly current. He's no longer embodied with us, but his spirit is. Where did this wisdom come from? So I am, who are you? I am that. I include God within me if that feels appropriate for you. And again, reminding you what science showed us probably 20 years ago, that life needs a place. So you are that life. Life is, to me, the energy and the spirit of us. You are home. Always. You don't have to be, it's like one of the Rumi quotes, you don't have to be looking outside for what you need. It's all available to you right now. You might have to work at it, but it's there. And there is questions before I share one more thing, or two more things, or three more things. Any questions, input? No, way too much. Judith, unmute.
Yeah, let's let Cindy go first.
Okay.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like I want to clap, like at the end of a presentation of, wow, that was so moving. That was just, it was so inspiring. Um, and I think that just, the miracle of it all is I think exactly the balm that my heart needed right now in this moment. So I want to clap.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Judith, I want to clap for all of you being here.
You know, you have such a magical way of making such technical dogma artistic and beautiful and relatable. I really thank you so much. It's like, how do you do that? How do you part through all the weeds? There's so much that you just recognize this ka-ching, like you have a real, you have a real taste for the fine wine, the aesthetic of the cell, the sanctuary. I love this idea of the sanctuary. It takes us back to the first class, the home, the membrane, just the sanctuary of one of each of us and the identity of that. Instead of being, identified with the DNA, it's like, no, I'm changeable. I'm alive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, it's for me, it's like, how did all this come to me? I feel really blessed. Like I say, I really feel blessed. I was fortunate. Part of my story is working with kids who had cancer or leukemia. I mean, I think one of my first doorways into something else besides seeing the cells under the microscope was since I was the only lab at UCSF developing diagnostic tools in human leukemias, I would have to, or the residents in my lab would have to go get blood or bone marrow from adults or kids. And I can remember many times there was nobody in the lab to go down to pediatric oncology. And so I'd be the only non-medical person in with a little kid getting a bone marrow biopsy and having maybe holding the kid's head. I mean, doing it, things that took me out of the lab, to people, especially I was doing it more with kids. I had hematologists going to most of the adults. So being in the clinic room or the treatment room was a doorway for me that I had not expected. I'm a lab scientist. I'm not a people person. And then when I started doing the photography through the microscope, well, one was a dad came to my lab and he asked me if I would photograph his son's cells. This is in the 70s. This is way back. He wanted to be able his son to use visualization to see his son's leukemia cells, because that was what most of my work was really. Okay, so I'll photograph his son's cells. And as I began starting to photograph molecules, like you see, every Tuesday I would show up in the clinic, in the pediatric oncology clinic with my slide projector, and gather the kids into a treatment room. I mean, the docs let me do this because I had all this money, research money, and they were benefiting from that too. So I would gather the kids into the treatment room while they're waiting for their chemo. and give them slideshows. I don't think I ever said what the slides were, but what I've learned over the years, because I did it in a lot of different situations, that the kids seeing this inner world, and mostly it was molecules, not cells, quieted them, calmed them down. That's why I continued to do the photography. I remember doing it for the Center of Attitudinal Healing for kids whose parents had cancer. And I remember the leaders of that group said, these were rowdy kids. It's hard to get them quiet. It says, I still have the letter. It says the slides calmed those children down. So, you know, I got obsessed with the photography, but it was basically I was seeing that it made a difference to these kids. So I was, you know, as I would be in the clinic every week, again, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a reverend. The moms would ask me questions about, oh, she has 2 kids, one has cancer, one doesn't. How does she deal with the kid who has cancer is getting a lot more attention? So they started asking me, because I was not the medical person and I was a female, they would start asking me questions about what was going on or how to work with their kids. And I'm sure I've mentioned my shaman to you, who I will mention again, because he came. Tom Pinkson started Hospice of Marin. He was the clinical director of the Center of Attitudinal Healing, which was right next door in Tiburon. So Tom came to UCSF. I'll have to ask him what made him do that. He came to UCSF to pediatric oncology. He's a psychologist and a shaman. I didn't know he was a shaman then. And there were 3 of us who were doing weirdo things with the kids. One was me, slideshow lady. One was a puppet therapist, and one was an art therapist. So he came to support the 3 of us because although the oncologist let us do what we were doing because it occupied the kids and their siblings in a clinic, he just came and gave support. And I know I'm going to go on and on and on about this. So who do you talk to about kids dying or mothers talking about the fear of their kid dying or their marriage, blah, 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 what's going on? So when one little boy who I write about in the cell book a lot, Alvaro, when it looked like Alvaro was going to die and he became like another child to me, he would spend time with me and my kids. When it looked like he was going to die, I didn't know how I was going to deal with it at all. I mean, even thinking about it, it makes me want to cry because I love this child like one of my own. And so I called up Tom. It's like, I don't know what to do. He says, well, you feel. I was like, well, that's what I didn't want to do. So when I went to, yeah, that was a life-changing experience for me. When I went to his office, it was here in Mill Valley. When I went to his office, it wasn't a clinical psychologist's office that I expected. He's got wheat shoal paintings on the wall. He's sitting on the floor on a carpet. He brings out sage and starts smudging me. It's like, who is this guy? And because I was dealing a lot with emotions I didn't know how to deal with, or facing dying children a lot, I just decided I needed help. I didn't, and I really trusted him. And how many years later? So that was in the 70s. I'm still in touch with Tom. I'm still, well, the community he built, still part of that. And I'm grateful because it opened me up to beginning to trust more than my brain and more than my intellect. One, because pictures came to me when I started working one-to-one with clients doing meditation. images came to me and I didn't understand. Am I making this up? Am I reading their mind? So I had a mentor that I could go to and say, where are these pictures coming from? And that's just what a shaman is. A shaman changes consciousness and receives information, visions from spirit. And I'm grateful. I mean, people would ask me, wasn't it hard being with these children? It's like, no, it was a gift. I would never have become who I am for a lot of other reasons if I hadn't taken on what looked like heavy, being with kids. I could give them something. And I was thinking, I used to go in the hospital in the early morning, drawing with kids. How do you see your illness? How do you feel? So I think that was one of the reasons this book, Your Brain on Art, became so important to me, because I was just doing what I was learning for myself. Well, I've mentioned Anna Halpern and doing a lot of the work with Tom. Does it help seeing, I've offered it here, does it help seeing your own imagination of what your cells are, or what your illness is, or what your stress is? Can I see it? Can I express it? Lots of research. Yeah, you can express it, and it's getting it outside of your head. I mean, that's one thing. If we think about, I know I talked a little bit about Pennebaker's work last week. I think I talked about it. I know I had it in the handout. So Pennebaker's work was basically expressing your thoughts and feelings about what is stressful or what is shameful or something you don't want to ever tell anybody, so it's hidden. And writing it, thoughts and feelings, a couple days for 15, 20 minutes, had phenomenal health benefits. I mean, they did research also with Holocaust survivors. So it's like what he was able to show was the expression is when we're holding something in, that's stressful. When we're expressing it, it's relieving the stress. So however we're expressing it, for me, with the pains I had over my family, my work, it was dance and it was drawing. So, I mean, not knowing any of that, just knowing that it was helpful for some people. So to be able to find a way that expresses for you. And I thought I would be doing a lot more of that during this class, but I haven't. Like, have you danced? No. Have you painted? No. So it's again to look at, just play with. How do you want to express what's most painful to you?
Do you mind if I ask, going back, the parent who had the two children, the healthy and was it Alvaro? Did I recall correctly that you developed a slideshow of healthy cellular development for the healthy child?
No, what I did. So the slideshows was for the kids and their siblings, because they're all in the waiting room in the clinic. And I wish I had saved the slideshow, but I know for the most part there were very little cells pictures in there. I mean, my reason for doing the slideshow, even though it came to me because of Dad wanted me to photograph his son's cells, the reason was to be able to show kids, and I was doing it for adults later also, to show kids what was beautiful in them. I mean, they were going through the tragedy of an illness that was making their hair fall out. If they were on steroids, they had big moon faces. Maybe they lost a limb and they would have to go back to school with all this disfigurement. And I mean, we in the clinic sometimes talked about it, and we did some back to school programs, how to help a teacher have a kid come back to school. But it was like, no, I wanted to show them what was beautiful inside, that they're beautiful, even though what was happening on the outside was not so beautiful, or they didn't feel that. And especially, that I photographed all these minerals. And it's like, well, that's what's left at the very end are the minerals, when we get out of our body. So that, yeah, so nothing about cell, no education in the slideshow whatsoever. It was just time to see pretty pictures. Time to see pretty pictures, just to occupy their time while they're waiting for what was next in a clinic. Yeah. Thanks for that question. That would have been a nice, if I come back, maybe I'll do that again. Or maybe it's being done. I mean, I know they started using some of the Symington's work with kids. Pac-Man were eating the cancer cells. So, yeah, I was fortunate. I was fortunate for the decisions. Yeah, because it definitely, I was ahead, meaning intellect was the only thing that was important. Yeah, information, information is the only thing that's important, rather than I know that the soul is important. And I'm not trained so much, really, to talk about the soul. One thing I did want to bring up today, an excellent book, How to Pray the Shaman's Way, by Jose Luis Stevens. And he's a shaman. It's not just about indigenous people. It goes into praying the Christian way, and I don't know if he goes into the Jewish way, but it's how to articulate. Are we always asking for something, or are we grateful for something? So and he talks about in here, what time is it? I still have a little time. He talks about when we put our hand on our heart, and if we press on our sternum, there's a place in our sternum that's tender, the most tender. And behind the sternum, the heart to the right of the sternum has a place that he talks about. Actually, it's got a name, which I don't recall. Some kind of node, atrial ventral node or something like that. There's an actual node to the left of that tender place on the sternum. It said, if you put your hands on your heart and you say, I am, that opens that place, which he calls the power place or the joy place, to receive. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. Have I done it? Not enough to see that I've got any effect, but I like the what he's teaching, and the prayer is gratitude. It's not, if only you give me a new teeth or a new car, or that's not what it's about. And you may have your own prayer ritual, which is fine. And like I say, I learned a lot from this book. I was rereading it last night. It's like, okay, I've got to really go back into this. And one of the triggers for me, I know I'm going on and on, is I've been in a prayer circle, a call every morning for probably 2 years. And we meet live on Zoom every Thursday morning. And to me, it's gotten to the place of everybody's got the same prayer, the same kvetch for 2 years. Nothing has changed. What's wrong with that picture? What's wrong? So are we calling? So it's like looking at, are we anchoring in what we don't want by some of our prayers? So I'm pretty much decided I've got to leave this prayer group because it's not spiritual at all for me. I like supporting the other women with prayers, but are we anchoring in, one woman is constantly kvetching, the Yiddish word, constantly complaining about the same stuff for 2 years every day. Do I need to hear that? No, I don't need to hear that. Um, so that's one of the reasons I picked up the book again. It's like, well, not to make them wrong, how were they praying wrong? But can prayer do? What can prayer do? And I know Jackie could say a whole lot about it than from her experience. And to look at for each of us, how do we connect with spirit? How do we connect with the divine? Is what my next round will be. How do we, and the elements are about that. It's the cosmos, it's beyond the intellect. So for each of us, how do we define what's sacred, what's spirit, what's divine? Do we reach that place for ourselves every day? I certainly don't. I would like to, but am I taking the time? It's like meditation. Do we take the time to be in silence, to be in opening to receive God, Spirit, the divine in us? Are we open to receive our sanctuary? Or is it just an intellectual exercise? No, I'm going to be 85 next week, so it's beyond, and I don't have many years left. I'm grateful for what I've had, but I want to be more in the divine. I want to know that, not just an intellectual exercise, knowing that it's out there. Yeah. Knowing God or whatever, Mother, Father, God. So I've gone on and on and on. Questions? Thanks for your feedback. Questions, comments? Anybody have something you want to say before I do whatever next is? Anya.
Yeah, I just love you to death. I love you to life. I love you to life. Judith and the other ladies commented, and I just kept on saying, ditto, ditto, ditto. So thank you so much. I've been traveling what you've discussed during the past several years. I'm more aware of it. And to have this opportunity to give ideas and explanation of it, of what's going on inside of me, has been just an answer to a prayer that I've been praying for years. And so I'm just excited and tickled, and I love you to life. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I love you all too. If you weren't here, I wouldn't be doing this. So I love you. Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Anne, unmute. Unmute. No? Oh, you're just dittoing what she said, what Anya said. You didn't raise your hand. Okay.
There.
Unmute.
Okay. I just want to say that this class has been a wonderment for me and opened up my mind to all that's going on inside me and with all of us, to expand my world just exponentially. And I can't thank you enough. There's just so much for me as I go forward that I'm looking forward to getting to know better and use the information from. So blessings. Thank you so much, Sondra.
Thank you. Thank you all. Yeah. Thank you all. Yeah. You become my family. You become really
Mm.
close. Cindy.
So I just want to share a little story. Back in the 80s, I went through like a huge life transformation. You know, I got divorced. I was a single mom with 4 kids. I went back to school, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that kept coming up for me, my mantra was, I am to be, I am to be, I am to be. You know, that whole thing of I'm choosing, I'm choosing. Because I did go through some, I've been through some dark times where, you know, I was pondering that question, you know. That's the big question. Am I? Yeah. And so that became my mantra. But then as I went back to school and I was in graduate school. And then I really started pondering the whole I am um, energy, because I had also gone through several chapters of huge different transitions with religions. And so this whole concept I had come across of, you know, I am that I am. And so I was playing around with the I am and I am to be, I am to be. And then I ended up having the mantra be, no, to be, I am. So it just, to be, I am, I am. And so I really, for years, embraced that I am energy, and that connection with source with it. And I even wrote it on my graduation cap, you know, to be I am, you know, and that became my little nickname for myself. I signed all my art to be I am, you know, it just became a nickname. And so today just like brought me back into that of just really feeling it again. I am, you know, and therefore, you know, I'm here. I'm here. So you know, daily I answer that question then, you know, to be or not to be. So
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, thank you.
you.
There's a reason those words are so powerful. Yeah, there's a reason. I am. I am that. So this shaman's way of prayer goes into a lot of the power of the I am. I love reading the book. It's fact, actually every line is underlined practically. Yeah. Um, so question, does anybody here use the tarot? Cindy, Marcia. Anybody interested in how you find your number, how you find your card? Okay, Judas. So the most common way of finding your number, so that, you know, there's a whole world of numerology, and there's in tarot, especially those who don't know tarot, how you find your card is based on your number. So your number is your birth month, the number of your birth month, your birthday, your birth year. So you add those numbers together. So if you're like 920, 1960, you're going to add 9 to 20, 29. 1960, well, you can let out the nines, but I won't confuse you because the nines erase each other. So 1960 would then be 9 and 1 is 10, 16. So 16, you're going to add 16 to what was the first number? 9, 10, 9. So you're going to add all those numbers together of your birth date, month, day, year, and get it, then keep on adding them till you get a single digit. So you could be a 9 or a 10. I mean, if you get 11 or 22, those are master numbers. But so it's like giving you a number. Any questions on that process? So you've got a number. So then if you go to, it's like Angie Arian has a fabulous book on a tarot, and I don't know if it's available online. It is? Okay. So if you say find your number is 6, then you would go to a tarot book or Angie Arian's website, and you could look up 6, 6 is the lovers, and read what that card is about. And then and she goes much deeper than I'm ever going to go here. But to look at what's the message of that symbolic part of myself. If it's a lovers, if it's the devil, if it's the priestess, what that's part of my cosmic knowing. How am I living that in my life? What do I need to learn from this symbolic language, the symbolic images, to expand my mythic self, my magical self? I was thinking about it this morning as I was meditating. It's like, oh, well, my number is I'm a priestess, and that makes sense of how I've lived my life. Really kind of being the nun in certain ways, and always wanting to embrace spirit. Well, for a lot of years. So it's like getting to that place. I certainly wasn't like that in my 20s or before that. It wasn't until I started again being with kids did I touch into the priestess self, the one who had to give them whatever I could, and not from my head. So to look at, what do I need to learn? What's my gift? What are my gifts? That's kind of how I use the tarot numbers. What I came in on a certain day. We don't use time in this, but to just play with it, to have fun with it, and not to beat ourselves up because I didn't do it for X years. But yeah, what else is there for me to know? I mean, every day I pull a card for myself, and I feel it's a doorway to spirit guiding me, because I'm always asking, what do you want me to know for today? So we each have our magic. What magic do we open to that brings us into a place of calm? And I'm going to, oh, did I lose? Oh no, here it is. I want to close with a prayer. Oh, well, do you all want to meet next Monday? Just for, yes? Yes? Okay, 3. Okay, yes.
Yeah, I'll
So
be
we'll
there.
meet. Okay, great. So we'll meet informally. Questions, connection, who knows what comes up. So this is a quote from a prayer, I think it's a prayer, from Chief Dan George. It's in How to Pray the Shaman's Way. And he says, which touched me to read for you, may the stars carry your sadness away. May the flowers fill your heart with beauty. May hope forever wipe away your tears, and above all, may silence make you strong. I could put that, I can put that in you've got the handout. I could put that as in the library. Has anybody gone to the library to see if you got anything there? Like, no?
Yeah, I've gone
Okay.
and watched videos and read several things. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. Yeah. Well, thank you all. This has been really special for me. Been really special.
Thank you.
See you next week. Maybe
Thank
this
you.
will go. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you very much, Sondra.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you, Sondra.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you,
Thank you,
Marcia.
Sandra, thank you, Sandra, and everybody else for sharing their wisdom.
Yeah. Quite a group we got.
Great group.
Yeah. So are you from Armenia, Anya?
No, my parents came to America from the Ukraine.
Okay, my father came from Ukraine. Because the reason I asked, are you from Armenia? My son's sweetheart is from Armenia, and your tone and your language is very similar.
West Side, New York City.
Okay, that's good. Oh, glad you're here.
Me too.
See you all next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.